Hello, and welcome to People of the Pod, brought to you by American Jewish Committee. Each week, we take you beyond the headlines to help you understand what they all mean for America, Israel, and the Jewish people. I'm your host, Manya Brashear-Pashman. Daniel Vaknin is a 30-year-old Israeli DJ and music event producer. He was not one of the DJs responsible for the soundtrack of the Nova Festival on October 7th. He was there as a fan, seeking a fun weekend. He arrived less than half an hour before Hamas terrorists stormed the border between Israel and Gaza, killing more than 1,200 people, including more than 300 at the music festival. Vaknin managed to survive, but since that day, he has dedicated his time to advocating for the hostages still in captivity. As we marked 1 year this week since the Hamas terror attacks, Daniel is with us now to share the story of his harrowing escape. Daniel, welcome to People of the Pod.
Thank you for having me.
I can't imagine, I don't want to imagine, being at a music festival, like Lollapalooza, for example, and it all coming to a sudden and terrifying end. But I think it's important for us, listeners, to put ourselves in your shoes. Can you take us back to the Nova Festival that morning?
So, for me, the Nova Festival, it's not only the Nova, it's the festival of the trance with C music festivals. It symbolizes and it's represent love. It's supposed to represent the connection to the nature. It's supposed to represent our connection, no judgment, happiness, joyful, of course. At the end of the day, it's an amazing community of fans of a specific genre of music that looking for more and more festivals and more events to enjoy, to celebrate, to dance, to express yourself in so many ways. So people think that the festivals or the trance with the C music supposed to be about music, but it's not. So when you go to this kind of festivals, to this kind of events, you can walk around and people open up their tents and camps, and they're like way before they plan everything, and they bring their most colorful clothes, and they bring so much food and drinks, and you can really go through the stools and see art and paints and clothes that you can buy and bags that people sell or made by themselves and want to express themselves. People are dancing. It's a festival. I think that's exactly the description that you're supposed to have when you ask Google, what is a festival? So it's not only about music. There's so many things in it. And that's what it represents for us, and that's what it represents for me. Because not all the time I'm going only to dance. Sometimes I just don't want to hang out. Sometimes I just want to see new stuff, buy some stuff, and express myself with different people, to meet new people.
Why did it take place on the Gaza envelope? Was it always in that field?
So for the people that doesn't live in Israel, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, I'm just saying in general, I want you to know, I want you to understand. I work in the music industry and the music production for almost 12 years. To make an event in Israel, unfortunately, Israel is a small country where it's a blessing and a curse because it's a small country and everyone is together. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of space and we have a lot of borders, and that's okay. So 70% of Israel open space, open fields are military training. You cannot enter or make any kind of events in almost 70% of the country, of the open fields, because the military is training there, and it's like you cannot. It's like, how you call it, Area 51 that you got here in the United States, nobody can enter, right? So that's why we got there. And let's say, and again, what I'm saying right now, it can be a percentage here or percentage there, but let's say 30% that we got left, it's or near borders, Lebanon up north, we got Syria, we got Jordan, we got Egypt, and now we got Gaza. And not only that, it means that we got people that owns the lands and maybe doesn't want festivals around their houses, their farms. They don't want you to interrupt the quiet that they have next to their kibbutzim or, their families. And let's say even more than that, some of the areas are not proper to have festivals. Like maybe it's too muddy, maybe it's too grassy, maybe it's forest. Maybe the country, the government, there's like, I don't know how you call it here, but we have this company, or maybe it's not the right word, that take care of all the trees and all the forests in Israel. Like the government official. And they don't want you to make festivals because they want to take care of the lands, or they're taking care of the lands right now, or the farms. So it happened near Gaza only because of one reason. It's Israel. As long as it's Israel, as long as it's a place that's called Israel, and that's a land of our country, I can make parties wherever I want, as long as it's called Israel. It was near Gaza because the kibbutzim is near Gaza. It's like to ask Sarah Jackson, the Holocaust survivor that hosts me while I was escaping, why she's living in Kibbutz Sa'ad next to the border, 2.5 miles. If you ask her, that's her house, that's her home for 50 years, even before Gaza. So I think to explain it the best way is that I cannot ask you why you're doing in your balcony a party, because that's yours. Once you're out of your balcony and that's not your property, I can ask you why you decide or why you chose to do this. But I think as long as it's my property, it's Israel.
There was also a ceasefire in place, and therefore a reasonable sense of confidence that it would remain peaceful and safe, yes?
Right. So all this time, we have a ceasefire. Everybody knows about it. And I won't tell you that once every 3 months, every 5 months, we didn't have one missile launched from Gaza. And that's okay, in the circumstances, because we have the Iron Dome, and we understand that sometimes it cannot be so peaceful because things happen, but we have our military, we have our fences, we have our Iron Dome that costs Israel so much money. Every missile, every this kind of huge operation costs fortune. And we do the best we can to defend the country without interrupting the peace. So, yeah, it was quiet and peaceful.
So let's talk about that day and when that peace was broken for you. Where were you? And you mentioned the person who gave you shelter when you escaped. Can you kind of walk us through the events of October 7th for you?
October 7th for me started, again, a little bit before, because this festival was supposed to start on October 6th, 10 p.m. And was supposed to be one of the biggest festivals that happened. And a good friend of mine was supposed to go. I didn't mean to go because I was supposed to work. And my girlfriend was working there as a bartender. And she arrived with my roommate back then around 2 a.m. And both of them called me. And before they left the house, they told me, like, you have to come. If you're not working, I want you to come. And, when your girlfriend and your amazing friend and roommate ask you to come, you do the best you can to make it happen. And I had a ticket from a good friend of mine. And then we planned to go around 5 a.m. to head to the party. And I pick up my friend Ilya. And we headed to the party. And we arrived to the parking lot at around 6 in the morning. So I know that everybody knows the details right now. So everybody knows that 29 minutes from now, my life's going to be changed forever. But the most important thing is that I want people, when I'm talking about it, I think what's important for me is that people need to understand that now you know the details, but we didn't know. We always have this amazing feeling above our heads. We always had this blessing that we're coming for the best festival ever and everything's going to be amazing. I want people to understand it, to realize that we didn't had any attention or thinking about something else beside having the best time. So we arrived at the parking lot, we parked the car, and we headed towards the festival. And good friends of ours was coming outside of the party to go to their car to bring some stuff. And we were so happy, and we hugged, and we had a great time talking, like, really what's going on in the festival. We're so excited to go inside and see. And then it was the first second that we heard a whistle. And this whistle was a missile launches from Gaza to Israel. And there's no red alert. So we freaked out, of course, but I like to say that it's not a routine in Israel. I don't want to say it's a routine, but it's not something that didn't happen. Missile launches from Gaza or missile launches from somewhere, and the party is still on because we got the Iron Dome. You stop the music for a second, you take cover, it's done, and you go back to party. And it's not the first time. But this time wasn't the same. This time was a barrage of missiles launches from Gaza every second. Hundreds of missiles just launches. So the party was over and someone announced that we need to evacuate and the party is not coming back because people were waiting. And he said like, guys, you have to evacuate. The party is not going on. Leave the perimeter, evacuate, go home. And I saw the opportunity of going back home fast as I can, not because we want to run from the missiles, only because we realized it's going to be a traffic jam, right? So we saw like so many cars and we were like next to our car and we said, okay, let's go home. Like the car is right here, let's go. And I called my girlfriend and she said like, Daniel, don't come. The party's done. I was like, that's too late. I'm right here. And I told her like, babe, I'm going to pick you up. So go out. So I jumped back to the car and we pick up my girlfriend and we headed home. And at the same time, we're having a FaceTime with a good friend of mine from Israel. He was still in Tel Aviv. He was supposed to come to the party, but he woke up really late. So we had a FaceTime and we talked about what's going on and we laughed about it, right? Like it was breaking news. A missile start and Nova Festival is done. Are you coming back home? We're like, yeah, we're coming to Tel Aviv. What a bummer. We want to have a great party. So we started to head back home. And that was the moment that we, on this route 232, making our way back home, and a police officer stopped us and signaled us to U-turn. Like we cannot go that way. And he asked us to U-turn. And I want you to understand that all this time you have unstoppable missiles. The red alerts is above your head all the time. The missiles is just hitting the ground. You can see so many cars stopping, people running, people sitting next to their car, smoking a cigarette, drinking something. And that's another thing that people needs to know. People just finished an amazing festival in a second. They were drunk, they were high and scared. We cannot forget it that not anyone can handle this kind of situation smoothly and you don't know where to go, right? Because the police officers, and it's really important for me, I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying they didn't know as well. So they stopped us. No matter where we go, they asked us to stop here, to stop there, and we cannot go towards this way or that way. So my oldest brother called me and he asked me what's going on. He knew that I will be in this kind of festival. And I told her we're going to stop next to one of the kibbutzim to find a bomb shelter because we have to hide. And we cannot stay in the car once you have red alerts. And we're going to take cover and I'll call him back when it's be quiet, when it's become a little bit more quiet and we'll head back home. And I didn't have the chance even to hang up because when I stopped the car and opened the door, that was the moment we were getting shot at with automatic rifles. I want to say that not everyone will recognize it, but the military, the IDF are not supposed to shoot on automatic matters. We're not supposed to shoot automatically. Only single bullets every time. That's like the rule. That's the law that we got in Israel. And when you're getting shot at by automatic rifles, it feels different. It sounds different. And you can hear the gunshots just above your head, just whistling next to you everywhere. And I told my brother, I'm getting shot and I will call him back. And I hung up and I fell to the ground and I took cover and I crawled next to the side of the car. And I yelled to the car that we're getting shot at. So they have to go out. So Ilya was laying next to me. And I remember that we saw so many people stopping their car next to us and screaming and running and praying because no one understood what's going on. Nobody realized that we're in a war. Again, now everybody knows it. Now we can picture that. But at the same moment, you don't know nothing. You don't have even a clue of what's coming up. So it's all blurry, right? You don't really understand what's going on and you try to realize where you're at or why you getting shot at?" And we took cover. And when I left my head, I didn't see Lala. I didn't see my girlfriend. So I asked Ilya where Lala at, and he said that maybe she's still in the car. Now, an important thing that I took my mom's car and she got a child lock. So if someone's inside, you cannot open the door. So I crawl above Ilya and I open up the door, and Lala was looking at me with this frightened look, and she was like, I can't open the door. I can't open the door." I was like, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. Just come next to us." So she crawled next to us, and we later cover our heads for a few minutes for a while. And all this time we have the missiles. All this time we're getting shot at. All this time you can hear the bullets hitting the trees next to you. You can hear the bullets hitting the rocks. And people are running. People are screaming. And you don't know what to do. And we've been there for a while. And after a while, I felt like I don't want to stay here. Like I don't know where I'm going or what I'm supposed to do, but I don't want to stay here. So what we did is we said that we're gonna crawl back to the car. We're gonna take our seats back, so we won't be like in the horizon of the windows that people cannot see, or the gunshots won't hit us through the window. And we're gonna drive somewhere. I'm gonna press gas and run. I don't know where. So that's exactly what we did. And Lala was just laying like we're not on the seat, like where you put your dogs at, like underneath the seats. And Ilya and I were taking the seats all the way back, and I crawled to the driver's seat, and just pressed gas. And the second I pressed gas, we felt all the car was shaking. And I remember that we really felt the car moving once I pressed gas. And Ilya and I looked at each other. It was like, that was a grenade. We felt it wasn't a missile. And I remember we were like shocked looking at each other. So we drove like real fast. And again, imagine that all this time I'm lifting my head. I'm picking every time just to see where I'm heading. So we drove like this for, I don't know, a while. And then after, I don't know, 15 minutes of driving, we found ourselves getting stopped by two bicycle couple. So they went for Shabbat just to have a nice ride, and they stopped us and they lift their hands like, "You have to stop, you have to stop." And she said, like, "You cannot go forward. There's a terror attack ahead, and they're shooting at anyone that comes." And that's the moment you start to realize that, okay, maybe I start to understand what I came from. So we're just talking about it. Like, I think that's what happened there, and they tell us what happened there, and we try to understand the bigger picture. And I remember that we didn't know where we're supposed to go, but I like to call it the first angel came, and there was a car that heading towards us, and a beautiful guy jumped from the car, and he looked at all the cars that stopped, and we're like 20 or 30 cars, and he was like, "Guys, Kibbutz Sa'ad is just ahead, and I want you all to follow me. They open up the gates, and they will let you in. So please follow my lead. Park the car outside the gate, and just go inside the gate." And we follow his lead. It's a beautiful kibbutz. It's a religious kibbutz. So it was Shabbat for them. So the gate was supposed to be closed all the time. And everybody was praying at the synagogue because it was Simchat Torah. And it was around 8 in the morning, more or less. And I want to say between 50 to 60 people from the Nova, kids from the Nova, are running into the kibbutz. And we don't know what to do. We're just staying at the kibbutz. And there was a soldier that getting treatment next to the gate of the kibbutz because he had a gunshot wound in his stomach. and we see that he's getting a treatment from the city patrol. And even the city patrol that took us in, they didn't know what to do with us. They looked at us at the same look that we were looking at them, like we don't know what's going on. Go inside and let's see and let's figure it out. And I remember that we just scattered the kibbutz, like we just walked, and so many kids, so many girls, so many guys around my age are just crying, asking themselves what's going on. And you start to hear this, like, people are looking for their friends, like, hey, where's Rachel? Is she with you? Where is Avi? Did you see him? So it was a horrific moment at the same time, and you're so useless and you don't even understand what's going on. And we made a lot of noise in this kibbutz, and this kibbutz is like a really quiet. I want you to imagine that you entered the most quietest place in the world. It's like kibbutz, so beautiful, so nice. It's Shabbat, Simchat Torah. All the porches have decorations for the Sukkot. It's beautiful. It's quiet. But 60 people right now, with a lot of mud or dust from the party, from the festival, and running into your kibbutz. And the second angel appeared, and her name was Sarah Jackson. She's 88 years old. She's a Holocaust survivor, and she's an amazing, beautiful person. And she came outside of her house because of the noise we made. And she was standing at her porch. She looked at us with this beautiful look, and she's like, "Who are you guys?" And we said, "It doesn't matter. Can we come to your house? Can we stay at your house? Can we hide for a second just to drink something?" She was like, "Of course, come in." And when we came in, she offered us, of course, she gave us water and drinks, and she asked if we want coffee, and she asked us if we're hungry. And I don't know if she's gonna see it, and I believe I prefer not, but she offered us kigo, this Ashkenazi food. It wasn't good, I have to tell you that. But she was praising this kigo all this time. It's like, my grandsons like it so much, you have to eat it. And we tried. It wasn't good, but you know. And she always have this chill feeling, always this chill vibe. No nervous. The Shabbat, it's Shabbat. It's quiet. The Shabbat will keep us safe. Guys, leave the phones. And we started to talk with her, of course, and she told us a little bit about herself, and we told her a little bit about ourselves. And this time the information started to come, right? We're calling our friends that we don't know where they at, or that we lost at the same time. And we start to gather the information. And I remember I called my roommate at the same time. I was like, where are you at? She was like, two of my friends got shot. We're taking them to the hospital. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean got shot? By who? She was like, I don't know. We're getting shot at, and I got shot in the car, and two of my friends got shot, one in the knee, one at his shoulder, and I will talk to you later. I was like, okay, just be safe. And again, these talks that you have, at the same time, it's not reasonable. It doesn't make any sense. You don't know that 3,000 terrorists just enter your country. You don't know that right now people are getting slaughtered in their houses, murdered. You don't know it. And you start to get this piece of information from the news, right? You open up the news, and we call our friends, and this friend is hiding in the bushes, and this friend is running for his life, and this friend is hiding in another kibbutz, and some people manage to escape to Tel Aviv, and like they are heading home. They don't know what we're talking about, and so many like different stories, right, at the same time. And all this time we get all this piece of information that Be'eri's got invaded, and you can hear the people calling the news, like the anchorman, and like gasping for help and whispering at the same time. And it's Be'eri, it's Kfar Aza. And all this time we asked like Sarah, and she was like, yeah, it's right here. Why? Like, okay, never mind. Because we felt like Sarah, I don't know if she didn't want to know, or maybe, sorry to say it, maybe it was because of the age. So she wasn't like into all the details, but she was chilled. She didn't really realize what's going on. And we thought that maybe it's good for her not to know what's going on outside. And I remember that I was going out all the time. I was running, and I have some videos that I was running outside to the gate to see if I can help, to see what's going on, to ask maybe the patrol. Maybe they know what's going on. And every time you're running outside, you get a red alert, so you have to go back. And you do this, and I did it like 5, 4, 6 times, and you can hear the gunshots from Kfar Aza. And now you know that they're inside Kfar Aza slaughtering people. And there was a rumor started, I don't know how, and that's how rumor starts, that people saw terrorists inside Kfar Aza, Kfar Sa'ad, Kibbutz Sa'ad, sorry, in the kibbutz that I was hiding. And I remember that we thought that, okay, that's it. They're inside. What are we gonna do? We don't have a lot of choice. And what we did is that I told Ili, I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring some knives to the bomb shelter, because if they're gonna open up the door, at least we can fight. At least we're gonna take one of them with us. I don't know, something that we can try to do. And I ran to the kitchen, and again, like I told you, Sarah was a chill, quiet person. So the only knife that she had was a butter knife. So Ilya and I was standing with butter knives for, I don't know, a few hours holding the door. And it was, a funny moment, because I have to tell you, when you feel that you don't have a lot to do, humor kicks in. So we were standing with this butter knives like this, holding the door with a knife that cannot do anything to anyone. And I remember that after a while, Sarah looked at us. She was like, "What are you doing with my knives?" I was like, "Oh, not a lot. So I don't know." She's like, "No, wait, take it back." I was like, "Okay." And every time she took it back, we brought two others. And it was a game, like, Cartoon Network. We're running, taking back, she's taking back. And after 10 hours that we've been there, something happened. We had the opportunity to go back home, to drive back home. And I took my mom's car back to the kibbutz, and we jumped to the car, and we went to the other side of the gate. And we asked the commander, the military that arrived already, if we can go back home, because they told us that if you're going to stay here after 6 o'clock, you will stay all night, because they're going to close the perimeter. Nobody's get in or out. I don't want to stay in the war zone. So we asked the commander, and he asked us peacefully, like, okay, if you're going home and I will let you go out, please, are you going only to Tel Aviv? You're not stopping anywhere? I was like, no, we're not going to stop anywhere, promise. Okay, don't look to the side. Just go straight. Just go home. Now that's a weird thing to ask from you. But we were like, yeah, okay, we understand. But unfortunately, first of all, you cannot. When someone asks you not to do this, that's exactly what you're going to do. Let's be honest. And second of all, we couldn't, even if we wanted, because while I was driving, we had to maneuver in the road that we're going home between cars that was shattered to pieces. And inside these cars and outside these cars, there was so many dead bodies of people from the festival. And from our left side, you can always see this black smoke coming up from all the kibbutzim and Gaza, because now Gaza is getting hit really hard and really strong from the military and from the Air Force. And it was apocalypse. It was moments of apocalypse. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. So quiet, so peaceful. And I know it sounds ironic, but it's the truth. Like, it's such a beautiful place. And to see it now a war zone, to see the smoke, to see these dead bodies all over and cars shattered, it's the polar sides. It's 180 degrees from what you knew or saw.
Have you shared what you just shared? Have you shared this story with college students in America? Or do you rarely retell this story?
So I came to United States for the first time in May. I had an amazing opportunity to play as a DJ in a joyful Jewish event that happened in MIT, but it was for 1,500 people, Jewish people, just to celebrate, just to be happy, not to talk. And I was supposed to come to this event to play as a DJ, to perform as a DJ in front of these people, and headed back home after a while, like after 8 days. But when I went down the stage, when I got off the stage, so many people ran towards me and asked me if I want to come and speak and to share my story in communities, in schools, and in synagogues, in temples. I didn't know that at the same time that what's gonna be it's gonna be something I'm gonna do every day now. But I had almost 12 events, 12 speaking engagements in 2 weeks here in Boston, in Miami as well. And I had this amazing opportunity to share my story, to talk, to spread awareness. So I came here only for this purpose. I'm gonna be here almost 2 months speaking, talking to colleges, talking to communities, anyone and any place that will give me the opportunity and want to hear a Nova survivor experience, like a first-hand experience, and to ask the questions and have this amazing dialogue, to hear the truth. Again, I don't like to speak about politics. I like to speak about what I've been through. I like to speak about my beliefs. I want to speak about my community. I want to speak about my friends. I want to speak about the friends that I lost. I want to memorize them. I want to show the world that you can choose light no matter how much dark you have. And no matter how much dark you saw, or what's going on in Israel now, or what's going on in the world, there's still a choice.
And you have a yellow ribbon dangling from your left ear. Do you know people who are being held hostage?
So a month and a half ago, our missing puzzle, our amazing friend, Eden Yerushalmi, was murdered in captivity after 11 months that she survived. And she was the last person that I knew, like personally, and we spent some time together, and she is a good friend. Yes, Eden was more closer to my heart and other friends that murdered the same day. But I can tell you that Elia Cohen, that everybody's waiting for him to come back, he's a good friend of a lot of my friends. Like, I know so many people that he's a friend of them. So I cannot say that I'm his friend, but he's one of the family. And each person there, the bibas, the babies that no one's talk about them anymore, the parents of the kids, nobody talk about them anymore. I want all of them to come back home. Because again, guys, it's not about right or wrong. It's beyond insane. It's beyond insane that we got a kid that almost a year, more than his life, is in captivity and nobody's talking about it. It's not insane. I don't think there's a word for expressing it. So this ribbon, I know it represents hostages and it's nice to put it in my ear. But God, that's not enough. That's not enough. And we need to do more than that to bring them back home and to bring them safe.
I want to note for our listeners that you are in Boston for some speaking engagements, and we're actually speaking on October 2nd, a day after all of Israel went into bomb shelters following a barrage of missiles from Iran, and a terror attack on a train in Tel Aviv. What have you heard from your family and friends back in Israel?
My parents and my brothers are in Israel. And my youngest brother is in the army right now. He's 19. He's a combat fighter. He's a commander. And my mom, she got 4 boys. So she is a lioness. All of us were fighters. All of us been through war. And now the youngest one, and that's the last one, like she said. No more boys, no more fighters. She wanted peace. And that's the reality right now. Imagine that yesterday I was waking up to a news that I know that Jaffa, I lived in Tel Aviv for 9 years. So Jaffa, Tel Aviv is like so close. And I got a lot of friends that lives in Jaffa. And I'm waking up to this news that terror attacks start and they're killing people, they're murdering people, they're slaughtering people in a train station. And I recognized the place immediately because I've been there a lot. And there's so many heroes. You know what? I won't give the stage to this. I want to change it. There's so many heroes in Israel. My parents are sitting in a bomb shelter and smiling and doing the best they can to keep the morale high. And someone that I know well, and he's a good friend, it was the guy that yesterday went to buy groceries because he didn't have food with his flip-flops and his pistol, because from the moment the war started, he had a license for a gun. And he only went down to buy some food. And he was the one that injured and killed one of the terrorists with flip-flops yesterday. So that's the reality, but that's our heroes. They don't wear capes. They wear flip-flops, and they're going to buy food.
Daniel, this state of war seems to have no end, no boundaries. Attacks are coming from all directions. As you travel around the states and the world, speaking and listening, what do you find to be the biggest misconception? What do people outside of Israel seem to not understand?
I think if we try to see and we try to fight every single day about religious and who's right and who's wrong and all these excuses why we are not supposed to be here, or I don't know. Guys, if you don't know what you're talking about, don't take a stand. Come to Israel. Talk to the Nova survivors. Talk to the kibbutzim. Talk to them. There are human beings that will tell you exactly what they saw, what happened, what they lost, what they're losing. You will see an amazing people and strong people that will tell you the truth. They don't want it. Not the kibbutzim, not the Nova survivors. No one wants it. But as long as it takes, we will do it. We will defend ourselves. And we'll be the strongest people that we can because we have the right to live.
Daniel, thank you so much for helping us remember what happened a year ago on October 7th. Thank you for sharing what I know was a very painful story and journey, but I think it really will impact our listeners and remind them about the horrors we witnessed a year ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manya. It was a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
This episode is brought to you by AJC. Our producer is Atara Lakritz. Our sound engineer is TK Broderick. You can follow People of the Pod on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and learn more at ajc.org/peopleofthepod. The views and opinions of our guests don't necessarily reflect the positions of AJC. You can reach us at peopleofthepod@ajc.org. And if you appreciated this episode, please share it with friends and family and write a review on Apple Podcasts.